Everybody thinks I'm suicidal, in which case I'm fucked and nobody wants to work with me. Or they think I'm faking a draw psycho pension, in which case I'm fucked and nobody wants to work with me. Basically, I'm fucked.
Waiting on Diego is finally back. Podcast number 8. And I'm Matt. I'm here with Jason, Diego, and Brian. We're going to do a comparison of Lethal Weapon and Die Hard.
I was going to say 2 of my favorite holiday movies.
Yes. We're going to jump into that already, the similarities, where they both happen around Christmas.
Now, what we wanted to do is we're going to change the format a little bit from, 2.5 hour reviews of hour-and-a-half movies to a deathmatch style elimination winner-take-all format where we're going to take 2 movies, and Diego cannot watch the one we pick as the better movie the rest of his life.
I don't think I agree to that.
Yes, you did.
Oh yeah,
we have it in text and email.
And since we're on the honor system, and a lot of these movies are on TV all the time, Diego's going to get a punishment movie at the end of this that's somehow loosely related to the winning movie. So that's the overall format of this podcast going forward.
And doesn't he not have to provide a recap of that on the next podcast?
He does. He has to prove that he's watched it. That's right. He has to prove that he's watched it and give us give us a summary to start the next show.
First of all, why are we not punishing our tech person who waited 2 years to put our previous podcast on
I will take no responsibility
iTunes.
for any of this. I'll blame it on Diego.
I want a hamburger. No, a cheeseburger. I want a hot dog. I want a milkshake. I want potato chips. You'll get nothing and like it.
Well, we had to wait 20 minutes while you fumbled around with the microphone.
We're going to start with Diego since it's the waiting
than what you were using.
Since it's the Waiting on Diego podcast.
Well, I had to make you guys wait at least a little bit.
Yeah, well, we should know better. We should not be surprised.
It's our own fault for not starting and just letting him try to figure it out.
That's true. I mean, come on. And the podcast is Waiting on Diego, too, so it's not like it wouldn't live up to its title.
That's right. And we're still talking about classic movies.
But the other thing is, so real quick, Diego was saying that we were supposed to be doing a couple of other movies, and apparently this has been 2 years, I forgot.
We had said in previous podcasts that we were going to do Apocalypse Now versus Platoon.
Where the hell did you get him? Psychos or us?
And all our listeners are been waiting 2 years for that, and we're not
absolutely.
We're not
all
even
three
going
of
to give
them.
them. We're not even going to give them what they want.
Oh, wait a minute. Diego picked those movies, and due to In the Line of Fire and the other garbage, he doesn't get to choose anymore. We've taken that responsibility away from him.
Well, first of all, first of all, the Warriors, I think, got just as much hate from BB.
No, the Warriors was much better.
Warriors, come out to play.
And by the way, Diego, did you pick Lethal Weapon? Because every movie that you pick has a dude blowing a gun in it, and I'm just wondering about you.
That is true. John Malkovich and Mel Gibson.
Yeah, so I'm a little concerned. I think for the good of everybody, we probably should not choose movies anymore.
Well, what we intend to do is take at least 2 movies from some similar genre and compare, contrast, and then summarily toss one out so Diego can never watch that movie again. So
wait a minute, you really want to use the phrase "toss one out" because some guys on this podcast right now might not mean something different to them.
Guys, this is 2017. We don't need this kind of homophobia.
Diego, you pick every movie with a dude blowing a gun in it. I'm worried.
Hey, not only that, but I will say the 2 lead characters. Hold on, now the two lead characters in these movies are both homophobic. They show in this movie there are some similarities. We'll get to that when we start talking about the lead characters. But both these guys, Mel Gibson in the shooting range scene talks about how lesbians are gross, and
you're right.
John McClane and the Christmas party, the drunk gay guy. Yeah,
I don't know if it makes him
freaked out, man.
It was the 80s. Things were a little bit not as PC back then.
Well, it's not about PC. Some random person kisses you on the cheek and you're not expecting it. You're just going to react a little weird, right?
Perhaps.
For the record, these movies, Lethal Weapon was 1987, and Die Hard was 1988.
Yep.
And they also, by the way, share
Can I say?
similar. I'm sorry,
Diego.
Yeah.
Can I say, Diego, that the falling scene? I don't want to jump the shark here, but the falling scene.
Jump the
by Hans
Malkovich.
Gruber at the end was before the John Malkovich falling scene in the Line of Fire. So not only did they do a worse job, but they bit Die Hard in the process.
They did.
You have a rendezvous with my ass, motherfucker.
Well,
They did.
you know
and The Line
what?
of Fire is nothing but a ripoff.
Well, they were trying to figure out how could we possibly make the Hans Gruber death scene better. Let's just make it 20 times longer.
First of all, Lethal Weapon also had a falling scene. They just didn't die.
Oh, it's not even the same
That wasn't
thing.
a falling scene. That was a jumping scene.
Jumping, falling. It was off a building. That's close enough.
Do you really want to jump? Do you want to?
Okay.
All right, well, go ahead, Diego. Give us a quick synopsis of the two movies so we can start to break these things down.
All right. Well, Lethal Weapon is a story about a somewhat unstable police officer named Riggs. Some would call him
somewhat unstable.
Yes, Martin Riggs, somewhat unstable, possibly suicidal, I think is probably a more accurate way to describe it. And a veteran policeman named Roger Murtaugh, I believe.
Which is such an awesome. I just wanted to say that's an awesome fucking name, Murtaugh. That just sounds badass.
Well, can I continue?
Maybe.
So Murtaugh and Riggs are teamed together, I guess, because Riggs is having issues, and the department, I guess, feels like Murtaugh is the man to help him through his issues.
What issues would those be?
Again, the suicidal.
Anti-Semitic, I think, and a Holocaust denier.
Oh, wait. Now we're talking about
spousal abuser,
anger management issues, and alcoholism.
All right, can I finish? Okay, so they both seem to have one thing in common, though, and that's hating working in pairs. So maybe it was a cruel trick by their boss to team them together because they don't like having a partner.
Let me just say that police departments often will keep suicidal, crazy police officers that won't follow the rules on the police force because it's perfectly acceptable.
Especially in Baltimore.
Ooh.
Are you gonna fire a guy who's like the only thing he's good at is being a sniper and killing people? You want to fire that guy? I'm not.
All right.
Wait a second. The guy just handcuffed a suicidal dude to his wrist and pulled him off the building and jumped. I mean,
so I don't understand why that's a big deal. He had a big balloon pad landing at the bottom of that.
Okay, we'll never get to the end of this. So Diego, what's this movie about?
Basically, the movie is about these two that are teamed together.
It's a buddy cop movie of two opposite dudes who have to work together for the greater good. Move next.
Yes, well, you're forgetting they're there to stop a gang of drug smugglers. That's
irrelevant. Brevity is key, Diego. Jesus Christ, we'll never get to discuss this if you give us the whole movie.
Well, you didn't let me even get one sentence out before you guys started interrupting.
You did 18 before we even got to.
I don't. I think the listeners are smarter than that. And they can tell that I had almost no time.
You don't try cases in a courtroom, do you? You just read and review law. You don't have to talk in front of anybody.
Die Hard, 1988. John McClane, NYPD officer, who's going through some marital problems with his wife Holly Gennaro, ends up traveling to L.A. to meet his wife during Christmas for the Christmas office party. And at that time,
where's he traveling from?
From New York. I said New York. NYPD.
Just want to make sure you're following.
Anyway, so basically, he just so happens to show up during the office Christmas party where a German terrorist.
What do you mean? Just so happens? He was invited to come to the office Christmas party.
No, it just so happens that it coincides with a German terrorist named Hans Gruber, who is there to basically extract money.
I take exception that he was a terrorist. He wasn't really a terrorist. He was playing a terrorist. He was a thief, an exceptional thief.
Okay, thief. But I would say anytime you take over a building and you kill people, you might be considered somewhat of a terrorist.
Add all that up. I don't know what the fuck it means, but you got some badass perpetrators and they're here to stay.
Anyway, the Nakatomi Plaza is his target, Hans Gruber's target, and apparently there's a vault with a crap ton of bearer bonds in it. And of course, like you said, they're trying to pretend like they're really terrorists who are trying to hold the Nakatomi people hostage so that they can get their terrorist buddies out of prison all around the world. And obviously, that is not true. Done snoring?
Anyone else catch what else was in the vault?
Baseball cards.
Japanese antiquities. Why would that be in there?
Oh, right, swords and stuff like that.
It's a Japanese company, of course.
No,
Well, that's not.
How stereotypical.
They're obviously it's a mafia
They're ninjas.
business. Japanese.
No, they are a clan of ninjas. Get it right.
The ninja
Wu-Tang
mafia.
Clan.
And also, the best part of the movie was the
Nakatomi.
very beginning. Do you remember the song that they were playing as he was arriving?
It was Run DMC.
Yes.
It was the what was the name of that Christmas rap that Run DMC had?
Christmas in Hollis, Queens.
There you go.
And this was also back.
So-
This was also back when it was fun to fly on a plane and you could smoke and you had leg room.
Yeah,
And you
give you food.
could openly carry a gun too.
Yeah.
So
Well,
speaking
I
of
think
airlines,
I think
I
cops
just
might
had a
still be able
long
to.
flight in Canada. Like I flew from the west coast of Canada to the east coast of Canada, and like airlines will not give you anything to eat now unless you buy it. It's crap.
Yeah.
That is crap.
A
Is
5-hour flight. It's
Yeah,
garbage.
you have to go to Europe before they give you free food again.
Yeah, you have to do the 8-hour
You guys,
overnight
what is
thing.
this? 2005? That's been the case for like 12 years.
I know, and I'm complaining about it. I think it's bullcrap. You know what? They take every comforting factor away from riding on an airplane to you, and so there's nothing left to give.
Well, I think we can all agree on that.
I mean,
All right.
Oh, you know what we screwed up on? Hold on, before we get too
what are we
far,
drinking?
we
What are
forgot.
we
What are we drinking?
All right. I'm drinking New Belgium's Fat Tire,
Wow.
a
You're not-
Belgian style
You're not
ale.
drinking whiskey?
okay.
I am not.
This is a first.
2 years have gone by since I drank that whiskey.
Wow,
What happened to the whiskey?
so much has changed.
He's
don't
not
know.
into 14-year-olds anymore.
Wow. How do you respond to that?
Just move on.
Move on, Matt. What are you drinking?
Well, unfortunately, Costco is going to be pissed at me because I didn't
Uh-oh.
have any Becks this time, so I'm drinking Guinness.
Oh, man, that's old school, man. Drinking Guinness.
All right,
Jax?
I'm drinking Jefferson's Reserve Bourbon.
Oh, nice.
So I guess we're
Ooh.
switching. Because last time I used to be the one drinking beer, and Diego was the
You're
one
drinking
drinking
beer.
scotch. And now we're switching up.
And I think the last couple podcasts we did, you were hungover or always had an excuse not to
Yeah.
drink.
Yeah.
So did you. What are you talking about, JJ? You had a
There's only-
couple.
That's when it
Only
went
one
down.
time I didn't drink. Only one time.
Yeah,
Only one?
That's
Okay.
that's when it went down the shitter when Brian stopped drinking. He was hungover and too tired, and then coincidentally the podcast ended.
That's true.
That was
I think
it.
there's definitely a correlation. Now I'm drinking Bernheim Kentucky Winter Wheat Whiskey. It's
Wow, that's interesting.
quite awesome. I cannot get it where I
Interesting.
live, but one of the guys that works with me lives in Kentucky in Frankfurt, and he gives me bottles of it, and it's one of my absolute favorite whiskeys around.
Nice.
Like a very smooth, less peaty Maker's Mark.
Well, you know what? Unfortunately, we're not all together because I would definitely take some of that.
Yeah, I would let you have some. It's
That
pretty good.
sounds great, actually.
And it's not even expensive. That's even the better part of it too. It's like $30 a bottle, so it's really
Yeah, that's not
reasonably
bad.
priced, and it's wonderful. So I don't mind drinking a lot of it.
Yeah, that is not too bad. All right. By the way, rest in
All right,
peace,
let's-
Alan Rickman. I just wanted to say that Hans Gruber passed away. I believe it was earlier this year, maybe last year.
2016.
All right. Well, before we get to bad guys, though, let's talk about the good guys, because these movies really kind of launched the careers of. I mean, Bruce Willis was known as a TV actor. Was obviously in Moonlighting, and his career took off as far as the main
Moonlighting
characters
and Steve
go. And,
Virals and James commercials.
yeah, and you know, I think Danny Glover wasn't known. I don't know what he was known for before this, but as far as being the lead character in this movie, and if
A
this
Color
movie, don't
Purple?
get it twisted, he was the lead character in this movie. He was the lead character in Lethal Weapon, not.
He had the most.
Not Martin Riggs.
Yeah.
No, I think in the subsequent. Yeah, and in the subsequent, I think that the sequels that changed around. But Murtaugh, I mean, the story's about Murtaugh basically.
Yeah.
So.
Well, his family is prominently in it, so I think that makes it.
Well, and his friend is the catalyst. His daughter kills herself, or allegedly kills herself. It's the friend and their connection to Vietnam and the favor that he owed him and the heroin trade and all that. It's Murtaugh's story. Riggs is kind of along for the ride. But who do you guys – I kind of say that facetiously because obviously Mel Gibson became a much bigger star after this movie. But of all the good guys in this movie, how do you compare and contrast the good guys? Which one was your guys' favorite?
Is there really a good guy in this movie?
Boosie.
Wait, are you asking who's the good guy, Murtaugh or Riggs?
No, I didn't say. I said who is there really a good guy in this?
Murtaugh's a good guy. What does Murtaugh do? Murtaugh doesn't do anything bad.
They break rules all the time.
Well, of course. It's a cop movie. They never follow the rules.
So does that make you a good guy?
Well, I mean, some rules don't.
Takes a burn real good.
Endo here has forgotten more about dispensing pain than you and I will ever know.
Wait, breaking some rules doesn't make you a bad guy. There could just be rules. There's not necessarily a moral component. There's not always a moral component to.
Wait a minute, he's a police officer.
What would McClane do? What would McClane didn't have any way to communicate? He tried. He tried to pull the fire alarm and get the emergency responders.
McClane was a good guy.
McClane set off C4 in a building and destroyed the building for good. I think that was kind of.
Hey, that building is going to need a shitload of screen doors.
And it was already under construction anyways. A lot of those levels had construction going on. So who really cares? This is a remodeling job.
Well, I want to know.
I disagree.
So we can all agree that McClane is the better good guy of the three guys.
No way. Murtaugh is the best of the three if you're talking from a moral standpoint.
From a moral standpoint. Okay, what about an action movie?
Oh, okay. If you're talking like action movie, it's definitely McClane.
Wait a minute. I want to know the moral. Why you believe he had a moral high ground more than
anybody else? He's the family man.
So what?
Well-adjusted, cares about people.
You guys
What about the end when he has a chance to apprehend the suspects and he says, "No way you live"?
Well, I think he got fed up and he had been tested for so long, and eventually he had,
put him on the Baltimore police force, man.
What about when he eggs Riggs on to kill himself, put the gun in his mouth and shoot himself?
I think he was testing him to see if he was truly suicidal and found out that he kind of was.
He had to put his hand inside to stop his thumb to stop the hammer of the gun. So
right.
Right there.
Hold on. Let me talk.
In front of him. How do you explain that to internal affairs?
So, and he knew this guy was crazy suicidal. So what's he do? Invite him over to his house with his family to eat with him.
Yeah, what would Jesus do?
To hit on his daughter.
By the way, is Matt there or did he have a heart attack? What happened?
I was going to say, I was waiting for you guys to finish because you guys are missing the best good guy in both these movies, which is clearly Harry Ellis.
Harry Ellis?
Harry Ellis.
Yes. He's
explain.
He's the star.
Explain.
He's the star of Die Hard.
How so?
Hans Booby.
Yes.
Are you talking about the coat-sporting bearded guy?
Yes, he's clearly the star of the show.
Oh, please.
Oh, my God. He's
such a smarmy guy.
Yes.
It's a weak take.
He's the D-bag of all D-bags.
It takes talent to be that big of a douchebag.
So
it does.
This guy was a career douchebag. And what other movies was he a douchebag in? I can think of one of easy off the top of my head with one of my least favorite actors.
Which one is that?
I'll give you a hint. My least favorite actor is Val Kilmer.
What?
He hates Val.
I thought your least favorite actor was Ralph Macchio.
No, Macchio's all right. He's just a crappy hero.
By the way, we're going to do that movie. Karate Kid was the other movie I was saying that we were talking about in previous podcasts that You didn't agree to do it, but everybody else basically agreed they wanted to do it.
All right, I'm going to Real Genius. Remember, he was in Real Genius. He was the guy that ran the physics lab and was.
I have no idea.
I did not remember he was in that.
Yep.
Wow.
You're welcome.
Harry Ellis was in Real Genius?
Yes.
All right.
Actually, I was wrong. Ellis might be the second best because I forgot about Dwayne T. Robinson.
Wait, is that the limo driver?
Mr. Breakfast Club.
Oh, you're talking about the principal.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
he's the biggest ineffective douchebag cop ever.
Yeah.
See, that's what these movies are so good at. They get like the biggest asshole, annoying people, and when they come across like that, that's how you know they're doing a good job.
Well, and I love the
bull, you get the horn.
I love the FBI. The FBI agents were great in that too.
I was going to say, I was actually happy when the FBI blew up.
There were two guys. They were assholes.
Yeah.
But there were two guys who were in both movies.
What?
The Chinese guy who was the...
the torturer.
Yeah,
one of the
torture
FBI
he's the one who
agents.
tortured Mel Gibson, too.
Yeah.
That's right. The Asian henchman guy in Die Hard is the one that tortured him. And the agent, the other younger agent that blows up in the helicopter was in the very beginning of Die Hard, or I'm sorry, of Lethal Weapon. He was a cop.
Oh, really? I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah,
when
he was
they were
one
doing, like,
talking
the
to
Christmas
Murtaugh.
tree bust?
At the very he was in the office in the LAPD headquarters talking with Murtaugh.
Oh, yeah.
At the very beginning. But yeah, they were.
You're talking about where is he?
That's pretty obscure. That's a good pickup there.
That is a good pickup. That is really. I mean, you studied this.
Unlike Roadhouse, when you never.
You're talking about one of the. You're talking about Robert Davi or Davey.
These are movies I liked.
FBI Special Agent Big Johnson. Is that who you're talking about? Why is there silence?
Because we don't remember. I don't remember.
Okay, there were both the special agents.
Get on IMDb.
Both the special agents in Die Hard
were named Johnson.
Were Johnson. One was called Big Johnson.
No relation.
This is Agent Johnson. No, the other one.
Big Johnson, his real name is Robert Davey or Robert Davi.
Yeah, he was a bad guy in one of the shittier James Bond movies. Robert Davi's been in a million things.
But I'm saying, you're saying he was in Lethal Weapon as well?
No, Little Johnson.
Oh,
the black guy.
Oh, right. Okay, now I understand. Okay. I got it. Okay,
yeah, Little Johnson. It's just like, what does he say? Just like Saigon or something. And he goes, "I was in junior high, dickhead."
That's my favorite line of the movie.
It's like fucking Saigon! Hey, Flick!
I was in junior high, dickhead.
By the way, the Asian torturer was Al Leong. Oh no, Al Leong. Al Leong.
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 Yeah, I don't care.
All right.
I can't believe we've been talking about this for 22 minutes and no one has talked about the very best scene of Lethal Weapon. Pretty much the only part of it that I liked, which was the beginning when we got to see a beautiful titty shot.
Oh boy. That's the only redeeming characteristic of the movie for you?
I also liked. I did like two other scenes. I liked the part where he was in the park with those other guys and he did the Three Stooges.
The Christmas tree place.
Yeah,
the drug deal.
Yeah, so he did like the Three Stooges thing before he like disarmed him or whatever. And then the other part I liked was the very end of the fight scene with Gary
Busey, Mr. Joshua.
Joshua, that was an awesome fight scene.
I think that was before Gary Busey was like a lunatic.
Yeah,
he was a
lunatic in that movie. The only part that was good about it was him being a lunatic in that movie.
No, I know.
That was believable.
As an actual human being, I feel like he was still normal at that point.
Well, you know what? That actually made him look like a believable badass. So fighting like Mel Gibson, to be honest with you, I'm very surprised because normally he doesn't do movies like that where he's like a physical badass and that.
So that's a good transition. There were also some awesome bad guys in both movies, but we've got Hans Gruber and Carl, his main henchman.
The long-haired blonde guy. The
long-haired blonde guy.
Whose brother was killed.
Whose brother was killed. And we had this a parallel in the in Lethal Weapon with the general and Mr. Joshua is his henchman. So which pair of bad guys do we like better in these movies?
Hans Gruber, hands down.
The guy who said pain don't hurt.
Yes. I want you to be nice until it's time to not be nice.
Hans Gruber, hands down, and his German long-haired henchman.
Now, what else? Do you guys remember Carl from any other movies?
Well, hold on. Everybody else hasn't answered.
I answered.
Well, I think that was the consensus.
Oh, everybody agrees.
I no question about it. I mean, even though I thought the only thing that was good, I thought the general was weak from start to finish.
Oh yeah.
And the only thing that made Mr. Joshua interesting was he was crazy. So there was no comparison in my mind. I mean, even as much as I didn't necessarily love Carl, Hans Gruber alone in that movie is awesome, hands down in every scene he's in. Alan Rickman is awesome in every scene he's in.
I'm going to make a comparison, not in how they say they're going to fight, because obviously that's different, but how they actually fight. I see a striking similarity between a certain person in Roadhouse and Riggs. He has kind of a cooler style to his fighting.
He's no Patrick Swayze.
He reminds me of that for some reason.
Rest
though. I don't
in peace,
know why.
Patrick.
He wasn't wearing enough women's blouses for one thing.
Can you guys believe that Patrick Swayze's been dead as long as he's been dead? It's unbelievable how long it's been.
Yeah.
How long has it been?
I think it's been like 15 years or something, 12 to 15 years.
I'll go get all the sleep I need when I'm dead.
I can't believe he outlived Gary Busey.
I can't believe anybody's
outlived him.
Gary outlives anybody, yeah.
And here's a little trivia for you. Alexander Godunov, who played Carl, is actually Russian. He was a Russian classically trained ballet dancer. And he'd only been in a handful of movies in the States. I think he was in Money Pit because he was what was Shelley? What was her name?
Shelley Long.
Shelley Long's former love interest in that movie, but he was in a couple of other movies.
I hate that movie.
And then he died. He was basically an alcoholic. He died of basically alcoholism.
Wait, Carl died?
Carl's dead.
No way.
Yep. But I did think it was kind of funny that you had the two fight scenes. You had the fight scene at the end with Riggs and Mr. Joshua, and then you had the fight scene with John McClane and Carl. And really, of all that was probably the only thing about Die Hard that I don't like, was I thought that fight scene was pretty sad. You know, it doesn't hold a candle to the other one. But the rest of the as far as the bad guys go, I don't think there's any comparison between the two pairs. I think Die Hard's got the better duo.
Better Die Hard, better villain, better heroes.
I think Diego is probably likes Hans a little bit better just because of his love for nice suits. John Phillips London.
Listen, I love Hans Gruber.
I have two myself.
Hans Gruber is one of the best characters in any action movie in my entire life.
Yeah, he's
ever seen.
No, Hans Gruber he's amazing.
Yeah,
he is amazing.
Rickman is a genius. Rickman's a genius.
He's awesome. I got to step away and get a drink, guys. I'll be right back.
Yep. So, what? You want to go get a drink?
Yeah.
So what do we do?
I'm about to do that.
Stop and wait, or what?
No, go ahead. So
I don't feel comfortable moving ahead without.
I know B-Weave is the glue that holds this thing together, but
if you left Diego, I could continue on without being distracted. But with him leaving, he had some intelligent conversations to this whole thing. So
he brings the cerebral aspect to the show.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about that. But so do you.
I don't feel comfortable talking without him, though. That's the problem.
Well, you know what? We should soldier on here.
I negotiate $1 million deals for breakfast. I think I can handle this Euro trash.
This podcast.
All right, so let's get into what we thought of each movie in terms of like an overall big picture, and we'll let Brian go last, obviously, since he's getting a drink.
Yeah, and also real quick about there was I guess one other thing that I liked in general about Lethal Weapon was I love like the old like saxophone music that was going on throughout the whole movie. It just had like that super 80s cheesiness to it, which I love.
You know what I love?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You start.
No, because I'm going to go off on a different tangent. So you stay on target.
Well, why don't we wait for B-Weave then to come back, and we'll get into like the overall picture of what we thought of each movie. But I will say one of the things about Lethal Weapon that I found super odd that I was watching it actually with Matt. Matt was over, so we were watching it together. He was watching it for the second time in like 3 days. But I was pointing out to him what is going on with Murtaugh and his family that he can be in a tub naked and his like 16-year-old daughter and wife and I think even one of his other kids all can be in the bathroom watching him soak in a tub.
He had Mr. Bubble covering his junk.
But is there any other parent in the country that does that? JJ, you're married with a kid.
Hell no, I would not do that. That's creepy.
No, but you know what's interesting about this though is we all found it disturbing, but at the same time, he actually pulled it off and made it look as uncreepy as possible somehow, even though it was like a creepy scene. Like he still made it seem like really like it was a normal thing.
I have a 14-year-old.
What is the background?
And a 12-year-old, and that would never do that. That is wrong. That's creepy.
Yeah, that is so creepy. But what is the background? Is that Brian yelling at his kid? What's going on?
Oh, it's my wife watching TV. Like too loud. Can you please turn that down? Thank you.
Well, you know what?
I told you I could go upstairs.
Tell
Laura. I said, yeah. She's just salty at me because she knows I like. She loves Lethal Weapon. And she would totally say that Lethal Weapon.
Explains a lot.
Well, it's all Riggs in his hair and his whole mystique. But
it's very Pittsburghian.
Yeah.
You know what's weird? So
I felt bad the whole time for Murtaugh. Well, why am I blanking on Danny Glover? Because he plays a 50-year-old and he was only like 38 when he played him.
He was only 38?
He was only 38. He played a 50-year-old.
How is that possible?
I don't know. Look it up. Like
I'm 41. I look way better than he did.
That's true. I will give you that. Yes.
And normally black don't crack. So I don't know what's going on with that.
That black.
It's on the hairline, man. Crack. That's why I feel bad for him.
Man, he must have a small penis too.
Boy, he's not aged well.
I mean, he's breaking stereotypes.
Poor guy. I mean, think about it. What happens to him in this series of movies? Like he's in the bathtub when his family crashes in to wish him a happy birthday. Later on, he almost gets blown up taking a dump. Like
on Lethal Weapon 2. Yeah, he does not have good luck with bathrooms. That is for certain.
No.
You know, it's weird. When I was watching it with Diego, I was telling him I don't think hardly anything at all from that movie except for maybe the electrocution scene. But other than that, like I don't think I remembered any of it.
Really?
Whereas like Die Hard, I remembered, because you watched Die Hard like 1,000 times.
You see Die Hard more often.
Here's one, too.
But you see Lethal Weapon, you see the sequels, but you never see like the original on TV very often.
There's more iconic scenes in Die Hard. Boom.
There was a clear continuity problem in that first bathroom scene. Anyway, did anybody catch it in the series? He's sitting there, and it's because it's a wide open in the sequels. Because in the sequel, he ends up getting blown up basically off the toilet, right?
Yeah.
He's in a standard residential bathroom with the bathtub next to the toilet. In the original movie, in his master suite, he's in this tub with a mirror and all this thing in like the middle of the bathroom. So why is he taking a dump in the second movie in somebody else's bathroom?
Wait a minute. That house got tore to hell in the first movie. Like a car went through it and happened.
No, just the downstairs. Just the downstairs.
We don't know if the upstairs had extensive damage when a car tears through it. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say they had to rebuild after the Christmas massacre.
Guys, I don't mean to interrupt, but I just want to let you guys know I just changed to Johnny Walker Black. I figured I should let everybody know.
Yeah, we don't care.
In honor of Murtaugh, I'm drinking Johnny Walker Black.
38 years.
All right, so
what are our favorite parts in the movie? What are the good parts? What are the best parts?
We're still doing Lethal Weapon?
Well,
no, either one of the movies.
Let me go with Lethal Weapon. So when I was a kid and that movie first came out, probably through my teen years, I actually liked Lethal Weapon a lot. It was ridiculously violent, like a lot of 80s movies were. Shane Black movies, particularly the guy who wrote that, who wrote a bunch of other stuff. Over the top.
He was in Predator. Hawkins.
Yeah,
he was Hawkins in Predator
as well too. Yep. Wrote a bunch of stuff. Anyway, as I got older, I realized how kind of stupid everything was.
Hold on,
in that
I'm gonna have to interrupt you real quick, Billy. The other day I was going down to my girlfriend.
Oh, God.
Come on.
You got a big pussy. Gee, she got a big pussy. She said, "Why'd you say that twice?" I didn't.
Yeah, wah, wah. God, that joke's going to go in every single podcast, isn't it?
Yes,
Here we go.
it is. Big as a house.
All right.
Thank you. All right. As I got older, I kind of think Lethal Weapon didn't hold up quite as much, too. I think it's good for, like, a teenage boy with the humor and the violence, but when you get older, I don't think it's anything special at all. I think, one, they're not great cops overall. You know, they sort of do more destroying than anything else. They get caught in their own little shenanigans trying to help this guy, Murtaugh's friend, and rescue his daughter who gets kidnapped as well, too. I think Die Hard holds up. The more that you watch it, it never gets old. I think whether you're young or old, it's still a good movie. And I think John McClane's a way better cop. And I think the villains are better in Die Hard.
Wow, I couldn't agree
if
more
I never
with
watched
JJ.
Lethal Weapon again,
Yep.
it wouldn't bother me.
No, it's unbelievable.
So heroes get blasted. Heroes obviously get blasted in this movie, and it's sort of part of a genre of like, it's the Rocky kind of thing where you respect the hero more if he can take a punch rather than being like some kind of Superman, right?
He's not Rambo. It's a regular guy,
right? And so all three characters get torn up. Which injuries would you least like to have out of these two movies?
My bare feet with glass in them.
Yep. The glass.
Yeah, that one's rough.
That always traumatized me. The glass.
The glass.
I think you guys are forgetting getting shocked with water running all over you.
That wears off quicker than having your feet tore up by glass.
That's every Saturday night at our house. You just gotta remember the safe word.
Have you ever stepped in
rainbows?
I've stepped in glass, man. It sucks.
Dude,
I've electrocuted myself also. That also sucks. So I don't.
How about the scene where McClane has to tie that fire rope around the top of him when he basically barely escapes the blowing up of the top of the roof which is one of the most amazing. There are some awesome cinematographically, is that a right word? In both movies are fantastic, but I thought the helicopter scene flying up to the roof and then the exploding roof scene and all that was just such a cool sequence. But when he goes off the roof hanging by the fire hose and has to kick the curtain wall glass with that bloody foot, and you got the bloody footprints, and then he comes back and has to shoot the glass to get through it, is just awesome. But can you imagine that?
What movie has more iconic scenes in it? You're like, there's so many in Die Hard.
Oh my God, are we really using the word iconic? I thought
JJ's used it a couple times. I don't think I've used it yet.
You haven't. I'm using it in honor of you. But if you look at Lethal Weapon, what are those iconic scenes that you see repeated over and over that stick in your mind?
Every now and then I listen to like podcasts of these movies before we review them, and I hear people use iconic all the time. I'm just dying.
How about epic? Can we use epic?
You can use epic, but I think iconic is really our.
How about classic?
It's our thing, man. However you want to describe it, you're right. I think that there's no doubt there are scenes that you will see more cut up like that, and lines you'll see more from Die Hard.
Yes. What is the number one scene from Lethal Weapon that sticks out? Like, if you said, hey, everybody knows this scene, this is kind of like
Joshua burning his hand.
Really?
That's not a bad scene.
I like that scene.
Yeah, but like,
I think that to me the ones that always stuck out to me were the desert scenes.
Yeah.
Because that was pretty well
Why
done.
wasn't
Like
that
whole
the ending?
sequence was
That
pretty
seemed
cool.
like it should have been the end of the movie there.
It should have been because
the fight under the
Yeah,
under
it looked
the
really
fire
epic.
hydrant. Yeah, but honestly, like if you watch Lethal Weapon, we're trying to figure out which scene is like the ones to stick out, like the iconic scenes. Again,
Refill, I'll be right back.
If we go to Die Hard, you can come up with 5 off the top of your head that everybody's going to know, and it's been replicated.
Right. Yeah, and there were a couple even within that movie. I mean, there were a couple different sequences on the roof. There's a couple different sequences. Yeah, there are a couple of
ho. Now I have a machine gun.
Oh,
The guy is,
great.
Yeah.
The one where
so many.
Bruce Willis is sliding underneath the conference room table and the guy's shooting the guy. Like there's just Hans Gruber falling. You know what?
Hey, but
Yippee-ki-yay.
Hans Gruber, let's be honest though, Hans Gruber did not hold a candle with his fall to John Malkovich.
Get out of here.
You're high, and it was first. It was first. That was what bugged me even more thinking about In the Line of Fire was it wasn't even original.
John Malkovich let go. Hans Gruber got dropped when he was getting ready to try and shoot or pull Holly Gennaro and then shoot John McClane.
So JJ, you said there was a bunch of them in Die Hard. What's your favorite one of all the action sequences? Because there's so many awesome ones. What's your favorite one in that movie?
All right, what'd I miss?
Well, he's asking
We were talking
what
about
my
best
favorite
action.
action sequence is in Die Hard.
Yeah, we talked about, and we think we're all in agreement that the more iconic classic action sequences that you remember and you see all the time, you see replicated, more of them came out of Die Hard than Lethal Weapon. So JJ was talking about you can think of 5 or 6 of them off the top of your head from that movie. What's your favorite one out of that movie? I already talked about mine.
I think when he escapes from the roof as well too. I think that's like a pretty creative scene. How he uses the fire hose and jumps off, and then he kind of breaks him through the window. Slide. So I think that's pretty exciting.
Mine was sort of, it wasn't actually the action scene. It was sort of the interim in between the action scene where he's sort of running from or running to the bad guys, John McClane, and he keeps walking by the random calendar of the naked chick in the and he keeps staring at it every time he walks by, which is hilarious. I just keep laughing every time I see that scene.
Does it again in Die Hard 2.
Personally, I like the
just
end
random
scene.
stuff like that. I love.
I like when he finally shoots Gruber, and he's got the gun, taped to the back to his back.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that, and he's like John. I think right around that time, if not right when he shoots him, he's like, he says it's John Wayne and Grace Kelly.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Gruber says like John Wayne and Grace Kelly, and he's like Gary Cooper
asshole.
Gary Cooper, yeah.
I love
the way he calls
he
himself Cowboy. That's why I called him that too, John Wayne.
I love the way Hans says numbers. 1984. Like when he's talking about his resume.
Oh, yeah.
He's supposed to have that German accent, right? Even though he's a British actor.
Hey,
he's supposed to have
benefits of a classic education.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, listen, like, the heroes, there is a true hero, much more relatable in Die Hard. More iconic scenes. There's better quotes in Die Hard than there is in Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon doesn't have the quotes in Lethal Weapon other than
exactly.
Yeah, no. Actually,
I'm too old for this.
No good quotes. I mean, there's really no good quotes.
Exactly.
I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
So, how is Lethal Weapon a better movie? It's not. Die Hard is. Everything about Die Hard is
isn't even
better.
about whether it's a better movie. It's just why do so many people like this movie? Like I hear reviews of this and it has good ratings, and I mean,
Lethal Weapon.
I think part of it had to do with in the sequels, which I don't remember the sequels that well either, but I remember them being more of a comedy. This was really serious, and I guess I came into this assuming it was going to be more like Die Hard, which I thought was. I think Die Hard is a real funny movie. And,
it is,
and I thought that this was going to be like that too because I didn't remember it all, but I remembered the sequels being funny, and I thought that this was going to be like that. And I think maybe I had the wrong mindset, just thinking
the second Lethal Weapon wasn't funny.
I thought it was going to be a comedy,
serious action, but 3 and 4 were comedies.
Yeah, because I was, expecting a comedy and hoping for more funny stuff. That's maybe why I didn't like it. I don't know.
It's interesting.
I did think overall.
It's interesting because we all seem to have – there's a consensus with all of us that clearly Die Hard is the way better movie. But if you look at all the ratings, the Metacritic and all that stuff, they're very similarly rated. So I don't know if that's because at the time people thought that they were similarly, just as good. Each one was, equal to each other. But definitely looking at it now, looking at each movie now 30 years later, I think there's a chasm between the two.
I think if I was 12, I might like Lethal Weapon just slightly better because it was more over the top violent.
I don't think that that's like a movie for kids though. It had like a lot of dark stuff, like trauma, and like that's why would a kid like that?
I watched RoboCop, The Running Man, Commando, all that kind of stuff.
That was funny. All those are funny. Well, not RoboCop. RoboCop is a little different, but
RoboCop had funny stuff.
Funny. I mean, this was.
But I love movies like that.
It's like a horribly damaged person from Vietnam and his wife and all that bad stuff happening to him.
But you don't take that stuff in as a kid, though. Like you don't dwell on it. Like you just kind of watch from scene to scene. And sure, there's more of the top violence and some nudity and some stupid stuff, like explosions. If you're a kid, you're probably going to like better than
movies. We should
now.
do Over the Top would be a great movie to review.
It would be a great movie to review
that right now.
No. That's a punishment movie. That's going to be a punishment movie.
See, that's one of those movies that's so bad that's good. Like, there's a lot of movies like that. Like, that's an epically bad movie that's fun to watch.
When's the last time you've seen Over the Top?
It's been a while, but I remember it being really good.
Yeah, I think if you watched it again, Matt, your opinion would change.
Are we talking about a movie about arm wrestling?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Arm wrestling
embarrassing. Not just a movie, the movie. About
the only movie ever made about arm wrestling and truckers.
Let's talk about how mad you'd be if you were John McClane and your wife was calling herself Holly Gennaro after McClane.
She moved across the country from the East Coast to the West Coast. They were definitely separated.
And he didn't support her.
Nope.
That was the whole point. That they were having that argument at the very beginning before the robbery popped off. That. She called him on his crap. She said, "You didn't believe that I could make it out here."
And she had a way better job than he did too, by the way. She was like an executive, and he was a
hold on. He didn't believe that she can make it out there, or he didn't want her to be away from him.
No. She didn't. Well, didn't matter what the motivation was. He had no comeback when she said that to him. He didn't have, for John McClane, the one that had lines for everything. He has lines when guys are shooting at him. He did not have a response when she said to him, "You didn't believe I can make it." Basically, you didn't believe I can make it out here. You thought I'd come crawling back after 6 months or whatever, was essentially what she was saying.
No,
and he had no response.
But I think he hoped she wouldn't make it out there because he didn't want her to leave and he wanted to stay in New York.
Maybe so. But he still couldn't articulate that in the moment to her.
Well, you know what? And, a lot of badasses have a way to respond to pretty much anything. But when a woman's involved, everything changes. Women
I don't know, man.
Come on.
He had a line for every situation in that whole movie, man. That's what makes him cool.
He was. Let's just say he was not a good husband. By the way that movie was and how the sequels ended up.
Well, hold on a second. How do we not know that? I could argue just as easily that she's not a good wife for leaving her husband, going halfway across the country over a job.
And taking the kids.
I'm sorry, not halfway across the country, completely across the country for a job and taking the kids.
She had a pretty awesome
you guys
job.
have got a little too much feminist in you. I think
you think my man John couldn't have gotten a gig with the LAPD?
Exactly.
Maybe not. But the point is, she's the one uprooting the family, not him.
She's an executive. Didn't she have like family over in LA or something too that was watching the kids while they were at that party? What? Or was it a babysitter?
I don't know, but they had the housekeeper, the illegal immigrant housekeeper that got exploited by the horrible
undocumented worker. You mean
journalist who was also a dickhead in Ghostbusters.
Yes, and Real Genius.
That's right.
Oh, he's in that too?
Do you guys remember? Yeah. Do you guys remember someone in this movie that was also in The Running Man?
Hold on. In Die Hard, that was in Running Man?
It might have been Lethal Weapon. I can't remember. One of the two.
Was it one of the henchmen?
There was a little crossover. The announcer in Running Man.
Who is he?
No, he wasn't. No. That was a dude from Family Feud, man. That he wasn't in either one of these movies.
Oh, he was the he was not technically in the movie, but he was when Riggs was going back to his little trailer home and Family Feud was on. So he was technically in there.
All right, so there are a lot of good parts in these movies. What's the worst part of either one of these movies or both of these movies? What do you guys think the worst part of Lethal Weapon is? What's the worst part about Die Hard?
I'll tell you the worst part of Die Hard, which obviously we all loved compared to Lethal Weapon, but clearly the worst part and the part that made absolutely no sense is the lack of willingness of the police to believe there was an issue when basically normally if someone calls something in and says there's a serious situation in a building and maybe there's people who've taken the building over, terrorists, whatever you want to call it, a hostage situation. Normally the police immediately come to investigate. They don't accuse you of calling in a fake police report or whatever. And for some reason, multiple times in Die Hard, the police, the dispatch person doesn't seem to.
They showed up, though. They showed up.
No, but only after multiple attempts at getting Carl from Family Matters.
No, they showed up early, and the criminals dressed up as the security guys turned them away. There was no
but
problem.
that was later. That was later.
But they were part of the whole structure of the film is to make them look inept. That was the whole point.
No, 100%.
It's like griping that Star Wars is implausible because it's set in space. Like it's just plausible deniability. The whole thing was about the cops being, their lack of responsiveness. And when they did that, it played right to everything that Hans knew about. He was so prepared for everything they were going to do.
Why did they only have one channel to talk on? Why was everyone on? Like Hans was on one channel, the police were on one channel, McClane was on one channel. Like everyone had only one channel. Was Channel 1 the only thing they had available?
Yeah.
I just don't buy that the police are incredulous when they get a call telling them that there's criminal activity in an office building. I believe that normally, they're going to respond. They're not going to
duly noted.
The caller.
Duly noted. What about Lethal Weapon? What bugs you about Lethal Weapon?
Oh my God, that's a good one. I would say, wow, Lethal Weapon. Actually,
they break so many rules as cops, and they're still allowed to go out there every day and do their job.
I don't mean necessarily the storyline. I mean, what specific parts were there parts in the movie, the way they made the movie, the way they shot the movie, the way they wrote the movie? Well, I mean, were there scenes in the movie specifically that you didn't like? Not overall concepts that, hey, these guys are right on the line of being dirty cops. I'm talking about where there's specific moments in the movie that you did not like.
Oh, okay. The pool scene. The pool scene where they shot the bad guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they shot him, and
they wanted to save him.
Yeah, they didn't save him in time. It's totally unrealistic that you would let the guy drown when you're 5 feet away from him.
Well, he got tangled up in the pool cover.
That's pretty bad, dude. I thought the way they shot that scene was pretty cool, though. I mean, could you imagine being that actor, that stunt man?
Technically, they shot that movie well. Like the stunts, like jumping off the building, the scene in the desert where got helicopters and limos, and I thought that was the movie was competently shot and really well shot, really well. Like it was, there were no problems from that standpoint. I just don't think the characters are all that likable. I don't think the villains are all that good. I think the story is a pretty generic buddy cop film where people are opposite personalities and they end up becoming friends and solving the case.
Well, I mean, yeah, no one's saying this is groundbreaking stuff in Lethal Weapon. I mean, it's more about the action.
Where's Matt on this?
Well, I think the issue was when he kept getting offended when someone called his mama a whore, when that's just two nouns combined to elicit a prescribed response.
Low Roadhouse.
Oh, my God. Seriously? Matt.
Listen, Die Hard, Die Hard set the tone for that genre of movie because everything now, like Under Siege, Die Hard on a boat.
I'd just rather
right?
talk about other movies because Lethal Weapon was such shit.
I don't think it was shit. I
not
think
shit.
that's
It was shit.
no, it's not.
Not
shit.
memorable. Not something that I would watch.
I
Like
would
if I never saw
watch
Lethal
this
Weapon
movie
again, I'd be okay with it.
Totally good. I totally agree.
I don't know. I think Lethal Weapon was okay,
No.
and I just think Die Hard was excellent.
No, Lethal Weapon was shit.
No, Lethal Weapon. I disagree. I don't think Lethal Weapon is shit. I just think it's nothing special at all. Like it's pretty blah.
That sounds like shit.
Do you think any of the sequels were better than the first one?
So that's
definitely.
something I was thinking
Definitely.
about. So what
Definitely.
movie series
See,
had
that's the
better
problem. I don't
sequels
remember.
to it?
I don't remember the sequels, but I remember them being funny, but I don't remember them at all.
Lethal Weapon sequels were better than one.
Well, they couldn't have
I don't
been
know.
worse.
All-
And I'd say they were better. They were better than the Die Hard sequels as well.
Die Hard 1 and 2 are good. Lethal Weapon 1 and 2 are okay. Die Hard's after 1 and 2, even the one with Samuel Jackson 3, I didn't care for. And I don't know how many Die Hards are up to now, but I think it's like 6.
Die Hard,
terrible.
Die Hard 4 or 5 was really good. The one with Justin Long.
That's when he was the hacker?
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, I thought
didn't
that one
see
was
that one.
really good.
Ugh.
I liked that one.
I gave up on it after, I don't know,
Sam
4,
Jackson?
3, 4, I don't know, whichever one. Yeah, dude, I was just done.
The one where they go
So-
to Russia and he's fighting bad guys with his CIA
that one-
operative son. That one's terrible.
Yeah, that
That's the
one is
most recent
terrible.
one.
That,
It's
that
so
one
bad.
is terrible. But the hacker one is way better than that one.
Yeah, because that other one is really trash.
Yeah, I agree with that. So what is with the bromance between John McClane and our friend Al Powell? The
Oh,
cop.
you mean Reginald Val Johnson from Family Matters?
Yeah.
Yes.
I tell you this. I believe that to be a sequel to Family Matters, and that's the same cop. That experience made him get out of the big city and move back home to Chicago to be a suburban cop because of that. And you can't tell me any different.
That's actually an interesting take.
He's a really underrated actor, by the way. I think he's actually really
He's
solid.
in tons of stuff.
Yeah, he's really good.
But I would tell you, I feel that movie's the prequel to Family Matters.
He's no
And I
Paul
won't believe
Blart
that.
Mall Cop, though. I mean, that's where it starts and stops. I mean,
Yeah.
Paul Blart is where it is.
Yeah.
well,
no.
okay. What is John McClane's name with Al Powell? His nom de plume or his nickname or whatever you want to say. But what is do you guys remember that? Do you guys
Roy.
remember what?
Carl and
Roy. It was Roy.
Roy,
Roy Rogers.
exactly.
Roy Rogers.
Yep.
That is correct.
I like when he asks him if he has any cheese.
If he has any what?
Cheese.
Cheese. I don't remember that.
Cheese.
What scene was that?
Have any cheese?
I don't remember that.
Oh my God.
the-
That's
You know, it's funny, like the weird things
the
that I
Family
remember.
Matters joke. Urkel.
Oh,
Is
that's-
that, did I do that?
He's breaking out Urkel jokes. Jesus Christ. I would say that's normally when you would want to end the podcast. Maybe I'll edit that out. But it's funny that I was going to say the thing. It's funny the weird random things that you remember sometimes about movies. In this one, for some reason, even though I've seen Die Hard a million times, one of the random things that always sticks in my head is the one of the terrorists, the black IT specialist guy, like that
Theo.
the corny,
Yeah, Theo.
the corny.
The corny brother?
The corny, cheesy sweater that he wears is just so classic. It's very iconic.
And the
actually.
quarterback
Yeah.
is toast.
I love his jump over the counter where he kicks the dead guy out of the seat.
That is awesome.
It's just like he's like so nonchalant about it. Like the guy was just
Theo,
murdered.
you ask for a miracle, I give you the FBI. Like it's just
Yeah.
it's awesome. I mean, the interplay is so great. You know, you got the. I love Theo in that movie, and I loved. Oh God, I'm blanking on who was the sidekick, the guy who drove the limo.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
he was underutilized big time.
He was
Big league.
awesome.
He took out a
big
dude in
league.
the limo too.
He should have been. He should have been.
He took out Theo.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that what you
He
just
did.
said?
Yeah.
Yeah, he took him out.
Sorry.
Argyle.
Oh, that's right, Argyle. Yeah. I've never heard that name before. Isn't that a
I want to
sweater?
call him Hollywood. I don't know why, but Argyle's right.
I'm changing.
Yeah, his name is Devereaux White.
I'm changing my fantasy team to Dwayne T. Robinson this year. By the way, just because that's an awesome name.
We're gonna need some more FBI guys, I guess.
By the way, did you guys pick up on the price of gas in 1987 or 1988? I should say.
No, I don't remember.
So there's a scene where Sergeant Powell is, I guess, driving, and you see a gas station, and it's 75 cents a gallon.
Nice.
Wow.
75 cents a gallon. Man, I'd kill for that.
Dude, a couple of years ago it was like 99 cents a gallon.
No.
In Ohio.
Where?
Oh, Ohio?
No way.
That's
I don't remember it getting
probably 4 or 5 years ago.
The lowest I've seen in the D.C. area is around $2.
Yeah.
That's D.C. That's a major metropolitan area.
Yeah. No, I'm just shocked that it would be that low in Ohio.
It was, and I don't remember what year it was, but it was.
Remember, this was L.A. though, so L.A. is probably $3-something a gallon right now, and it was 75 cents back when the movie was filmed.
All right, this is riveting.
If you guys were gonna make,
this is not riveting.
If you guys were gonna send out a Die Hard related Christmas card to someone, what would it say on it?
Ho, ho, ho. Now I have a machine gun.
That's what I was going for.
Mine would say, Hans, booby.
I'm your white knight.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
Give me my detonators or shoot the glass. That's another, there's so many of them in there. I just love, my favorite one is the one that Al says, though, after McClane sets off the C4, and he goes, is the building still standing or something like that? And he says, yeah, but it's going to need a shitload of screen doors.
Hey, what did you guys think?
Card be
What did you
like
guys think of-
Yippee-ki-yay?
Oh, Yippee-ki-yay is the most iconic quote in the whole
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
What did you
I
guys
just want to
think?
say, like, icon's been used like 20 times in this podcast, and I've said it once.
I was talking to Brian about this.
You're not
I say it
allowed.
so you don't
I think I
have
talked about this with Brian earlier. Who do you think is the biggest star of this movie? Not
Of what movie?
of Die Hard.
It's
not
obvious.
Not the most famous person now or whatever. I'm saying like
No, it's clearly John McClane.
Yeah,
who
Bruce Willis.
No, who played the most iconic role in this movie?
John McClane.
No,
Yes.
Rickman
Then
is
Hans
way
Gruber.
better.
Hans Gruber's number two.
No, he's not.
Oh my
No,
God.
John McClane's number one.
We have
He's making a
Hans
joke.
Gruber
A
is
joke.
number one. No, Hans Gruber is number one. Ellis is number two. McClane is three.
You're insane.
Without, I will say, I agree that without the bad guy, there's no way this movie's nearly as good.
How many awesome
He's so
movies?
awesome.
How many awesome
I
movies?
don't know.
Okay, here's an example.
No
If
way.
Gary Busey was
No
the
way.
bad guy in Die Hard, would it still be
Switch.
How many
Switch
good
bad
movies?
guys.
How many
Switch bad
good
guys. If you
movies?
took the dude who played the general and made him Hans Gruber, it wouldn't be nearly as good. Alan Rickman slayed it.
Of course.
But what
Slayed it.
if Gary Busey played that role?
It'd have been awful.
It's one and one A.
Hold on. Let's take a look and show like how important it is to have a good villain. Do you remember what the original Predator was supposed to look like when John Claude was playing?
Yes.
Yeah,
It was like
spandex.
some freak-looking thing. Okay, the bad guy's important. Do you guys
Yes.
ever see?
It is.
What was the Terminator? Which
3?
Terminator? It was Terminator like 4, I think. It was the one with. There was basically Arnold wasn't in it, but they had like they did a CGI of what he used to look like.
Oh, was that Terminator Genesis? Not
No,
Genesis.
not Genesis.
Terminator
I think it was
Salvation.
Salvation. So in that one, that movie was an awesome movie, except there was no villain. You have
That
to have.
movie
You have to have
was
a
not
villain.
awesome.
No, there was a lot of unique stuff about it, but the reason why
If
it
that
fell
wasn't
short,
a Terminator movie, that would have been a cool sci-fi movie, but not a good Terminator movie.
well, because there was no villain. But I'm saying, like, if you don't have a good villain, it just destroys movies. And having Alan Rickman, I mean, it's easy to have like the leading lady or the main actor who's really good, but like having a good villain is so important in movies. And there's so many movies, like, I mean, Lethal Weapon probably would have been a lot better if there was a better villain. I mean, you have to have that good villain to like make the movie top notch.
Gary
it wasn't
Busey,
just one.
Gary Busey was pretty good.
Yeah,
But the cool
but
thing
he
about
wasn't the main villain though. If he was the main villain, maybe it would have been
Right.
better.
He was the henchman.
Yeah.
Well, and there weren't that many other, even though there were obviously other bad guys, there weren't that many other than the guy who tortures Riggs in Lethal Weapon. But the whole team of the terrorists in Die Hard are awesome. I mean, they're bit parts.
Yeah, personalities.
One of my favorite things about seeing those movies is seeing people who show up in all kinds of stuff. Like the guy who played James is the bad guy in Ghostbusters 2. Like he's the what's the guy in the painting?
He
was good.
The V. What is his name? Begins with a V.
Wilhelm von Homburg is the guy's name, but I can't remember the name. He was a German wrestler, but he was
he's a real bad
Vigo.
Yeah.
So but I mean, you just watch these old movies and seeing all these people that show up, like holy crap, I can't believe that guy was in that movie, and it's awesome. Yeah,
by the way, I have trivia for you guys.
Okay.
Who is Bill Clay in Die Hard?
Who was Bill Clay in Die Hard?
There is no Dana.
Alan Rickman.
There is no Dana, only Zool.
Only Zool. Are
you the keymaster?
Who is Bill Clay?
When Hans goes up to the roof. Why were you up on the roof, Hans? The fuck were you doing on the roof, Hans? And he goes up there. Yeah, that's what's cool about Alan Rickman, man. He switches that American accent like nothing.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny. I love that scene.
He knew he was not him because of the way he smoked his cigarettes, very English, European way. Right.
But I had a problem with that scene a little bit, even though I loved that scene. I didn't think Rickman's accent was believable.
Great. No, it was.
I didn't. I mean, if the goal was to have Rickman sound American, I that's the one flaw in him as an actor.
It wasn't that bad though. But I mean, even if it's
it was pretty bad because I've heard a lot of foreigners do American accents way better than he did.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it was very good. It was really weird. It was a weird
Do you think
accent.
that was an intentional to kind of make him
right?
Because Alan Rickman can do English, like American accents. We've heard him do that. So do you think maybe that's a character decision he made?
Probably
to not be perfect.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. Is it was so bad that I think Rickman is so capable of it. That I'm shocked that it was so bad.
That's a good point.
So who knows? I mean, we'd have to ask the director if we're onto something there. But I definitely thought that was maybe purposeful.
Yeah,
given his prowess as an actor.
Yeah.
So John McTiernan. I don't know what else he did.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
Who?
Well, no wonder I loved him. He directed Predator.
Oh, did he?
John
McTiernan,
directed Predator.
Right?
You said?
Yeah, McTiernan. He directed Predator. He directed The Hunt for Red October. He directed The Thomas Crown Affair. He directed The 13th Warrior, which is pretty cool.
He directed In the Line of Fire, which.
Yeah.
Did he?
No, he did not. Of course he didn't.
Of course he didn't, because that wasn't good.
By the way, what about Richard Donner? Richard Donner?
Richard Donner. What?
Yeah. Superman.
He made a bunch of coin off those.
Richard Donner.
Off that whole series.
If Diego meets a girl who likes In the Line of Fire, they will get married immediately. I guarantee it.
Well, yeah. Well, think about In the Line of Fire. Renee Russo. She went to the Lethal Weapon movie, starting with 3.
And McTiernan deserves a little heat because he also directed Last Action Hero, which he even said was one of the worst movies he ever did, and Rollerball.
You know what?
That was so awful.
Good idea, bad execution.
Yeah, it was a good idea. It was just such a bad movie. Literally, the only good thing about that movie was his contacts.
Listen to Richard Donner's filmography here. He directed Conspiracy Theory, which I thought was a really underrated movie.
Another Mel Gibson movie, blah.
He directed Maverick, which was a really good movie.
Yeah, Maverick.
No,
was
it
good.
wasn't.
Yes, it was. It was a fantastic movie. He directed Goonies, the
that's
Goonies.
Good. Yep.
He directed a lot of the Supermans. I mean, he had a pretty good run.
He did 1.5 Superman. He did the first one. He did half of the second one, and he got fired halfway through.
Oh, is that right?
Yep.
But still, I mean, you got to give him credit. He has some pretty good movies under his belt,
He did too many movies with Mel Gibson.
What are you talking? Listen, Mel Gibson's a lot of things, but he's a freaking genius when it comes to directing and acting.
He's a good director, and he was a good actor. He's just a nut job.
Yeah, he's a nut job, but you would want to work with him.
No.
Yes, you would.
No.
No.
He's the director of what's that movie?
Did you know that he freed Scotland, and he also won the American Revolutionary War by himself?
Yeah, he did.
He's amazing.
He did. He's
totally historically accurate.
Hey, listen, you can say anything.
Now he knows what women
you
want.
can say anything you want, but Braveheart is a masterpiece.
It is. Don't disagree.
So he's like
that was more a shot at the Patriot than it was
right.
Patriot was pretty terrible. That was a pretty terrible movie.
The bottom line is he's a lot like Tom Cruise. In his personal life, you may have issues with him, but as far as
his issues go way beyond anything Tom Cruise has ever done.
Well, that's fine, but
he's a garbage human.
If we were going to watch movies based on dumb shit that celebrities said, that I wouldn't be watching any movies because they're all idiots.
Oh, and let's not act like Bruce Willis is a saint. He's an asshole too.
He is, but he's not a Holocaust denier, like domestic abuser.
Wait, hold on. Mel Gibson's a Holocaust denier?
He and his dad both are Holocaust deniers.
His dad.
They both are. No,
his dad was. I don't think he was.
He is, and he hates Jews.
Probably,
no, that I agree.
That's probably some. It's probably some fake news.
I don't know that he's a Holocaust denier.
Fake news.
Look it up.
All right. Well, you know what? That's not the purpose of this podcast. So let's.
It is not. All right. Let's get back. Let's go ahead and let's vote on this thing. Let's see which one comes out on
Die
top.
Hard. Move.
This one's pretty easy, but let's. I want to see you. You got to give it a rating, JJ. Why don't you go first then? Since you're in such a hurry.
So how are we doing rating?
Movies.
We have two movies.
Oh wait, hold on. I have another problem with Die Hard, even though I loved it. Are you guys ready? I do not buy that the safe opened up just because the power went out. I don't buy that.
That was the last part of the.
Out of all the things that happened in that movie, that's what you don't buy.
That's what you don't buy.
I just don't buy it.
No, it wasn't like the safe was just going to open up if power went out. He had to disable six other barriers, and the last barrier was the power going out.
Yeah,
it was the seventh part. So like they had to do a bunch of other shit before it wasn't. Just
that was nowhere in the top 10 of least believable things in that movie.
There was a bunch of shit that had to happen first before they could get to that part.
Yes.
All right, I stand corrected.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah. So there you go.
Don't let it happen again, Dick.
Let's throw out a rating for each of the movies, and obviously the higher rating.
Wait, are we doing ratings or quotes first?
No. We can do quotes.
Can we do a little quote?
Okay.
We can do quotes. Quotes.
Okay. So do we want? Who wants to start with quotes? Do we want to do each movie?
Yeah.
Each person does each movie, or how do we want to do this? One movie at a time.
One person does a quote.
It's dealer's choice, man.
All right. So I'm gonna start. Let's do one movie at a time because I only have a quote for Die Hard. So we'll do Die Hard first, and then we'll do Lethal Weapon. So my favorite quote in the movie is, and I'm going to try and pick one that everybody hasn't said already. So when Gruber says, "I'm an exceptional thief."
Yeah, I love that.
Mrs. McClane, and since I'm moving up to kidnapping, you should be more polite.
Yeah, that was.
And obviously, I can't recreate that accent. That makes.
No, that was pretty perfect.
Hey, you know what? My accent of Dragline for one of our previous podcasts.
That was pretty good, man. You committed to that one.
I really killed it on that one, but I guess I can't do a Scottish accent or whatever Gruber's accent is supposed to be. German?
Brian, what the hell is Laura watching?
Dude, I don't even know.
It sounds
like
a domestic
why
disturbance.
is it
sounds
that
like Mel Gibson's at your house?
Why is it that Brian is definitely either the most talented podcaster amongst the four or tied for first with JJ, but yet he's dead last when it comes to having a quiet space to do a podcast?
Because he has like 18 kids and dogs and cats, and his wife is like a Steeler fan and doesn't care.
Is there no outdoors area?
No, I told her I was going to go upstairs and do it upstairs, and she asked me if I was going to stay down here, and then griping that it was too loud. So
is your wife needy? Does she need you?
She wanted to watch your man podcasting. She likes that. She likes to see him in his element.
It's riveting.
If your wife is going to be on this podcast every week, why don't you give her a mic and have her join us?
Oh, she would do it in a heartbeat. Although she'd be bitching at me the whole time because Lethal Weapon is one of her favorite movies, and we've been shitting on it for an hour and a half.
So
maybe we should have a week where we dedicate it to wives, and we have all the wives, and then I will pretend to have a wife, and I will do two voices.
Here's what my wife would do.
Or we could not.
She would call us geeks and nerds and make fun of us the whole entire time, and that's all she would do.
And she'd be right to do it.
Exactly, but that's all you would hear. You'd hear nothing else. It would just be insults, and she can't believe a grown man would do something like this.
Like you guys have ADD or something. You guys keep on getting off topic. Come on. Quote.
Can we just rate the damn movie or do quotes or whatever you want to do,
I was a little worried.
All right, I got two
I thought
quotes.
maybe Mel Gibson had broke in, was causing a ruckus.
I'm good.
A ruckus?
A ruckus.
Did you say a ruckus?
Drunken ruckus.
What was that ruckus?
What ruckus?
I was just in my office and I heard a ruckus.
Could you describe the ruckus, sir?
Watch your tongue, young man. Watch it.
All right, I'm gonna do two. So normally I pick funny quotes.
No.
I'm gonna pick my Lethal Weapon quote. Is not a funny one. It's just a good one. It's when Riggs said, "Hey, look, friend, let's cut the shit. Now we both know why I was transferred. Everybody thinks I'm suicidal, in which case I'm fucked, and nobody wants to work with me. Or they think I'm faking to draw a psycho pension, in which case I'm fucked, and nobody wants to work with me. Basically, I'm fucked." And
yeah, that's a good one.
And in Die Hard, my favorite.
Wait, hold on. We're supposed to be doing Die Hard first.
It doesn't matter.
No, I'm just doing both my quotes from the movies. And my favorite quote was already said by Brian, but my favorite quote was when Big Johnson says, "Just like fucking Saigon, hey, Slick?" And he said, Little Johnson said, "I was in junior high, dickhead." That's my favorite. That's underrated and my favorite movie. My favorite line in that movie. Who's next?
Yeah, I'll go.
All right,
I'll go. I don't remember that many lines specifically from Lethal Weapon that pop out of me. I'm getting too old for this shit, and that's one I've used a million times, so I'm just going to stick with that one.
I'm too old for this shit.
The one from there's so many from Die Hard that I love, but the one that I think is underrated is actually what's our deputy chief Wayne T. Robinson when he goes, "I guess we're going to need some new FBI guys."
Oh man. Oh man.
All right, JJ, it's your turn.
Oh boy. I'm gonna Die Hard. Like,
I didn't even give a Die Hard one yet, but go ahead.
I think Die Hard may be. Well, let's talk Lethal Weapon first. Let's go Lethal Weapon. Lethal Weapon. I can't remember anything, but maybe it was like.
I'm sorry, I didn't give a Lethal Weapon one. Go ahead.
When he did the Three Stooges impersonation, that's my favorite quote, and I don't even remember what he said, but I really can't remember too many other things from that movie at this point to even, to bring something up, and I'm too lazy to look anything up because I don't care enough to look anything up about Lethal Weapon. So, I'm going to go with that, and that's pretty much my opinion on everything. I'm going to say Die Hard, so, everybody says yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker, or whatever. That's always good, classic, but I think I'm going to say, come out to the coast, we'll get together, we'll have a few laughs.
Have a few laughs.
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
I love that line. It's pretty fun.
I use it all the time.
Yeah, no, I think that might be one of the best ones too. That's
pretty cool.
From McLean. I think that's probably his best.
Immediately after he almost falls down like 1,000-foot mechanical shaft and barely hangs on.
And it's the way he says, it's the way he delivers the line too. He does it perfectly.
Deadpan. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, actually, there's one thing I wanted to say, not a quote, but one of the other things I really loved about these movies, both of them, a positive thing about Lethal Weapon too, was the preview, the trailers for both these movies is so epic. They're both epic.
Really?
Yeah, you need to, after we're done, if you haven't watched them, the trailers, because they have like that super cheesy music in the background, and it's just so classic 80s in the way that they put the trailers together.
I'll check it out.
If you haven't seen them, watch the trailers for these movies. They're unbelievable.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I was looking at the quotes online for Lethal Weapon, and clearly the quotes that are, people have said, pointed out for Lethal Weapon there's no comparison between Lethal Weapon and Die Hard. Like zero comparison. So, I mean,
kind of like in The Line of Fire when we had no quotes. Like, I was looking through that fucking movie. I was like, there has to be at least one quote we can use.
My God. Are you kidding me? In The Line of Fire has tons of quotes.
I mean, better than Lethal Weapon, but that's a pretty low
Okay, you're
bar.
insane. You're insane. Okay.
I don't remember any lines from In the Line of Fire.
Clint Eastwood has a ton of good lines, and it's not even
the
close.
only thing that was good was reading the fucking credits because it was over. Because that was.
What's funny is you guys
2 years later still an open wound for Diego.
It's an open wound for me
too. Tear that Band-Aid right off, no doubt. All right, so let's get to some rankings on these things. Let's rate both movies, and then the higher one will obviously be the winner.
All right, I'm going. Die Hard, 9.5 ho-ho-hos. Now I have a machine guns out of 10. Lethal Weapon, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 76.
All right, I'll jump in. Lethal Weapon, I'm going to give it 8 out of 10 shooters from 1,000 yards.
Ooh.
And Die Hard, I'm going to give it 639 out of 640 million Nakatomi Bearer bonds, baby.
That's good. That's good. I like that.
All right, so I'll go. So Die Hard. I'm going to give. I'm going to give 9.5 Sergeant Al Powell ho-hos.
All right.
Not ho-ho-hos, but ho-hos. And
not any cheese.
He was eating Twinkies, by the way.
I thought it was ho-hos. Damn it, I screwed that up.
No, it was Twinkies.
All right, 9.5 Twinkies. My apologies. That's what happens when you have too much Johnny Walker. All right, and for Lethal Weapon, I am going to give it. Ooh, that's a toughie. I'm going to give it 7 Mel Gibson mullets.
Really?
Out of what? 10?
Yeah, I only do out of 10.
But where does his mullet compare to Dalton's and Roadhouse?
I'm gonna have to make an executive decision here. We have to keep the rating out of 10. Whether you want to use decimals or not is one thing. It's got to be out of 10.
I agree. I've been lobbying for that for 2 years.
Yeah, you guys.
I disagree.
You guys have been giving weird ratings.
It's all
they require.
It's all percentage points anyway.
Lawyers don't like using math, so
if it gets mine was 99% to 80%. So there you go.
Yeah.
Break out a calculator. It's not that hard.
All right, Plessinger, let's go. What do you want to rate this?
Let's see.
You're really taking your time here.
I'm going to give Lethal Weapon 3.6 electric shock treatments out of 10. And I'm going to give Die Hard 9.9 Hans Bubbies out of 10.
Ooh, Bubbies.
Nice.
9.
So that's it's a clear victory for Die Hard, which means Diego can never watch that movie again.
Yep.
Ouch.
Wait, hold on. How does this work? Why can't I watch Die Hard?
The winning. No, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. It's the way your name is on the podcast, man. You are the star of the podcast, so there has to be something. There has to be a hook. And the hook is you don't get to watch the movie anymore. But this is on the
so now we also pick And now
I don't get to watch that movie anymore?
Hold
on.
The best.
No, you don't get to watch the movie anymore. That's the whole. That's the genius. That is the genius of this death match. It's a death match. There has to be something on it.
Is we got to pick the main actor.
But I have no way of.
Well, hold on now.
Hold on.
Wait, Matt. Wait. Hold on, Matt. So, but this is on the honor system because we can all acknowledge that these movies are on TV all the time, and if you flip past Die Hard, it's awfully hard to keep going past it. So we're on the honor system here. So the real punishment is that, in the spirit of Alan Rickman, who was brought up at the very beginning of the show, Diego has to watch Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince.
Wait a second.
Because that's the one. You got to watch Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince and give us a synopsis and a review to start next week's podcast.
You were going to make him watch.
This to me.
We should probably have him do the one with the time traveling because that'll confuse him.
Hold on. Explain this to me. I thought in any punishment there had to be the opportunity to avoid the punishment.
Oh, no.
God, no. No.
I'm so lost on what the death match is all about, but
the death match is
how many emails and texts were over there?
I didn't realize that I was screwed either way.
Wait a minute. Do you go over legal contracts and provide guidance to people and you don't pay attention to the detail? Holy
until
shit.
after we get through all of this.
Jesus Christ, man.
That's the fun.
Bubby.
First of all, who is picking the next movie or movies that we're going to review?
Not you.
You already did. We're going to do Apocalypse Now versus Platoon.
Okay, whose movie is that?
Oh, because we are punching him in the gut here. I don't know. It doesn't matter. You were the one that brought it up, so I don't know if it's yours, but it's the next two we'll do.
It can't be mine because I just picked Lethal Weapon and Die Hard, so it's got to be somebody else's turn.
Well, no, we should probably just finish those because those were okay. So the last one that we did was podcast number 7, and that was what? Which one was that? Warriors?
No, I think was Cool Hand Luke.
Warriors come out.
Yeah, there was one after. There was one after Warriors. At least one after Warriors. Either way, it doesn't matter who. I don't care who picks next, but those are the next two movies we need to do because we've talked about doing them forever. But to start the podcast, we'll start with Diego's review of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince because that's the one that features Alan Rickman probably most prominently of all those movies, and it's out of sequence, so Diego will have no idea what's going on. That'll make it even funnier.
Wait, I'm really going to have to do this?
Yes.
All right. I'm a team player.
Nice.
That's gonna be pretty tough going in at like, what is that, the fifth one? Or something? You have like no idea what's going on.
At least it'll be beautiful. It'll be beautiful.
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
Have you seen any of them, Diego?
No.
I've seen bits and pieces on TV, like clicking through channels.
This is going to be freaking classic.
He's gonna be
I will bet money it'll be the best part of any podcast we've done yet.
Like the Horcruxes. What the fuck is a Horcrux?
Who's Tom Riddle? Tom Riddle, what the hell kind of name is that?
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah. All right, Diego, you have your assignment, and then we'll all watch Apocalypse Now and Platoon, and one of those will be eliminated from the lexicon.
All right.
Good job, fellas. Die Hard is the winner. Ding, 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 ding.
Well, guys, I am proud of everybody, most notably Matthew Plessinger for taking the 2-year hiatus and doing something productive, putting up all the podcasts on iTunes and our website.
Waiting for Diego.
Yes, for anybody who's listening.
And if you want to contact us, we actually have a real email address now, waiting on Diego at AOL.com, because AOL is where it's at.
Is it waiting on Diego or waiting for Diego?
Waiting on Diego.
Waiting on Diego. We discussed this ad nauseum early on, but it's been 2 years, so I can see how you'd forget.
Okay.
So we are going to also have a intro and outro by Ghost Town Silence, is what I've heard. that we're going to add to the podcast, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Jay?
Can you dig it?
Yes. Yes.
Right.
I can.
So for everybody
Wait a
who's
minute,
listening,
that's Bob the Builder.
Whether it's 1, 2, or 10 people, you guys are going to be in for a treat because Ghost Town Silence will be now our intro and outro song.
That's right.
Or intro and outro band.
Great
The
band, local
formerly
musicians.
known as the Rebel Set.
The Rebel Set.
That is correct. All right. So
that's
for
how you know
Brian,
you've made it like big time. Is when
For
you're
Brian-
when you have
When you
a
get
formally
sued
known,
over names.
Yeah, when you have a band formerly known as, that's how you know you made it.
All right,
Pretty
so I'm going to
badass.
sign off here, guys. For Brian, Matt, and Jason, this is Diego, and we hope that you join us next week for Apocalypse Now versus Platoon.
Oh wait, so wait, hold on. This is August 31st.
Or in the future.
This is August 31st, 2017, by the way. So
the apocalypse.
When you don't
hasn't
hear the
happened.
sequel until 2019, you'll know why.
All right.
At some future date, you will hear
By the
from
way-
us again.
By the way, Matt, this time you should probably try and cut it off at a point where it actually sounds remotely professional.
Like right now?